Yo, what up, man? Chris, I'm about checking in, man. Back on the blog, man. Finally. I'm almost to the crib, man. I'm almost to the crib. You know, I was in San Antonio yesterday, and now I'm all the way in Alabama, so I'm only a few hours from the house. I wanted to shoot this blog real quick, though, because I think there's some valuable lessons to learn, man, about what happened with the Diddy case. You know, I spoke a little bit about it yesterday. I'll reiterate that because his lawyer had a lot to say, and it's kind of interesting. So I'm gonna let y'all hear what he had to say. But you know, it's kind of crazy the way things are, man. We gotta really educate ourselves out here. You know, it may not be that important sometimes when you're younger. I remember when I was 24, 25, I didn't care about nothing. I didn't care about nothing that's going on in this world too much. I was running around, living my life, trying to meet a whole bunch of girls, make a whole bunch of money, and go to school. And as you get a little bit older, you start kind of realizing just how much they don't really teach you about certain things growing up in school. And you got to do a lot of reading, a lot of educating yourself, and just about a lot of stuff. I done got way more into politics, way more into legal stuff, way more into just the way things are done and way laws are made in this country and way things are done in this country, because they don't teach you that stuff in school. They don't teach you about financial advisors, investing, a lot of that stuff in high school. They don't really teach you that stuff. Even with politics, when it's time for you to vote and stuff like that, they just tell you to go out and vote. Go out and vote. You don't really learn a lot about voting and how it's done. You know what I'm saying? For a long time growing up, I was real uneducated on voting. And I used to vote, but I didn't really know how a president was even selected. I just thought whoever won the majority of the votes was the president. I used to think that because you're just taught vote. But there's been presidents that didn't, there's been people that have won the majority of the votes and they did not become president, because it's about the electoral college and you got to learn, you know, about how that's done and why that was created and how a president is even elected. They don't really teach you that stuff. And a lot of times growing up, they just tell you to vote, but they don't really tell you the understanding of it. So a lot of us is just a little ignorant to a lot of things. I was just at the barbershop probably like a week or so ago, and I was just listening to a guy that was he was next to me getting a haircut, and he was just like, man, your vote doesn't matter. Like, he was talking to his barber and I'm getting a cut, and I'm just thinking like the immaturity of people in this world on how they just look at stuff. You know what I'm saying? You always know your vote. This is one clear way to know voting matters. Look what they do to try to get rid of your vote. Like, look at the ways they try to go to the extreme measures to make sure you can't vote. That right there lets you know how important voting is. They didn't try to kill voting. They redistricting states to eliminate certain voters and certain minority votes and all. Look at the ways they try to get rid of voting for certain people. You can't say it don't matter. They ain't gonna go through all this trouble. So you got to become educated. When you think about this Diddy case, it's just a lot of like reassuring, a lot of lessons that I was reading about, because I had a great legal book, and I was reading a lot about the legal system, and it was always talking about how, you know, you always are kind of still in the eyes of the law. You still can be looked at as the way your charges are. It still can be used against you. You still can be used against you. And I said this yesterday, that I obviously, y'all know, was charged in a case. The way the legal system is, I will never, ever be looked at as innocent. It don't matter what happens. I could win trial. I could have the DA get on their knees and look in the camera and say, we made a mistake. I don't know how we could have ever charged Chris. It will never matter in the legal system. Once you are charged, you're actually never considered innocent again. And the way the court system is, you know, you get your guilty and not guilty verdicts, but they don't look at you as innocent. So if you go through trial, you win trial, and they say this person is not guilty, the courts just look at you as you're just not guilty. They couldn't find you guilty by a reasonable doubt. It doesn't mean you're actually innocent. And if you do something else, let's just say you had a murder trial, you was acquitted of murder, and then next thing you know, I don't know, something small, shoplifting, I don't know, something crazy, right? Or a little battery charge, you got in a fight at a park. They can always say, oh, remember like 8 years ago he had a murder case. Oh, but he was acquitted. Oh, but you know, he still had a murder case. He's still showing signs that he can still get into bullshit. And they still use it against you. And I just think that's incredibly unfair. And I read about that when I was locked up. And just to see it play out in the Diddy case is like crazy to me. It's just crazy to me how that happened. And I looked up the judge. I was trying to get some more information on the judge. The judge is actually appointed by Biden. So he was probably a Democrat. He was appointed by Biden to become a federal judge. But the thing about him, when I was reading up on him, he was a very, very, very strong advocate of sex trafficking. Ironically, what Diddy was charged with it, he was acquitted of, but that's what they tried to get him on. He was very big into child porn and sex trafficking. He was an advocate for that. When he was a lawyer, before he became a federal judge, he used to represent people that had those kind of cases. So he always felt strongly about that. And then he happens to become Diddy's judge. And at first I thought Diddy might be kind of cool. Like Diddy seems to be, you know, not really a Trump supporter right now, or some of the things I've heard him say. So I thought maybe Diddy's a Democrat. The judge is a Democrat. The judge is Indian American, kind of Asian. So he's a minority. Diddy's a minority. You know, the judge is in, so I kind of thought maybe the judge is a guy. Diddy is a guy. You know what I'm saying? He don't got a female judge. Sometimes you look at all these factors and you think maybe things could work out a little bit more in Diddy's favor. He never got bond. I was really surprised he never got bond for someone who doesn't have a criminal history. But he didn't get nothing. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get nothing. And now we see he had a judge that was very much against what he was charged with, regardless of whether or not he was innocent. So let me get y'all to look at this.
We're hearing Diddy's attorneys speaking to the media after he was sentenced earlier today. This is live.
Yeah, we are planning to appeal.
I'm gonna hear them, bro.
We are planning to appeal. We think we have strong bases to appeal. The strongest basis is that the jury reached a verdict on coercion. It found there was not coercion, and I think the judge said coercion today as a basis for a sentence at least a dozen times. We think that is unconstitutional. We think that a jury verdict should mean more than our jury's verdict seems to mean, and so we are planning to appeal.
Absolutely. Files a cross appeal. What would happen in that regard if they filed a cross appeal and then Sean Diddy Combs get a higher sentence?
He would not get a higher sentence, and they're not gonna cross appeal. We're gonna appeal. We think we're right, and they'll respond to the appeal, and it'll be decided by the Second Circuit as soon as.
Tell us about the conversation you had with your client after the sentencing.
Consensual. The judge clearly thought the sexual encounters weren't consensual.
Because he's biased.
What did you make of his remarks?
He's biased.
If anyone, I'm happy to go. So we think that's just absolutely inconsistent with the jury's verdict. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no sex trafficking. There was no racketeering. Everything was consensual. Everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the prostitution offense. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror,
Yes,
one that we
did.
did not choose, and that he second-guessed the jury's verdict.
Well, at least the judge was open-minded. At least the judge was open-minded for both sides. Gave consideration.
Did you have a chance to talk to Sean Combs? Did you have a chance to talk to your client? Can you tell us about the conversation after the sentence?
How was he?
How's your client?
How will it impact sex workers?
But he's okay now. But he's okay now.
Come on, man.
Stop pushing people, y'all. Space out. He does feel justice was served, though. He said he takes accountability, and I felt like Diddy definitely took accountability for everything, sir. And I would like to just let you know that
the
everything
media
was not
is crazy, bro.
consensual, sir. Please don't say that.
Hold on.
It was not consensual. Even Diddy admitted
Defense team,
that.
man. Just answer the question.
Yes, but he did allegedly.
All right, queen. All right, queen. All right.
Can you talk to us about
right, enough of that. Anyway, media vultures, boy. It's like they got 1 million cameras in front of this. I put up a poll. Did y'all think Diddy's sentence was fair? It's kind of split. Most people, I ain't gonna say most, it's about 53% said that they thought it was not fair, and 47% felt like it was fair. I'm gonna be real with you. I kind of do have a problem that like everybody got off except Diddy in a way, and that a lot of people did a lot of consensual stuff, and a lot of people were complicit because Diddy was paying for things and they had money. At any given time, they could have felt like this was immoral or this is something that they didn't want to do. And I think you have to hold grown people accountable for their actions. So if I'm a bodyguard and I went and got a sex worker and I brought them across state lines, whether Diddy paid for it or not, I still feel like the sex worker committed a crime. So why do I get immunity and then somehow Diddy is the worst person if I'm the one that went and got the sex worker? If I drove, because and the state line was shit like, oh, the sex worker is in New Jersey and he drove to New York. I mean, that's like, bro, I drive around all the time. You literally can be in Newark, drive 20 measly miles, and be in New York. So it's just like, that's what you're considering to be state lines? Like, where y'all be trying to carry y'all out like I just found someone in LA, flew them all the way to New York just to have sex. Like, y'all are really kind of like dragging it. And then I can have a sex worker go pick the person up, bring them over here, but because I'm Diddy and I quote unquote paid the sex worker, somehow the nigga that actually committed the crime, because Diddy is not the nigga that's going to pick these sex workers up. It's somebody else doing it. And it's just like, okay, all y'all get immunity. And I think that's why the people are split. I'm not even tripping on the 4 years or the 3 more years left, because he probably did deserve a little bit of jail time, a little bit. Like I said, I thought maybe him getting out in a year would be cool. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know if time served would have been completely right. I'm not saying that, and I'm not jumping up and down over 4 years or 3 more years. Do I think it's a little excessive? Yeah, I think he probably should have got like 24 months or 30 months or something, and then he'll be out in a year and a half. The 4 years is probably a little bit more than what I thought he should get, but at the same time, I think people have a hard time that Cassie is looked at as this victim who had a lot of involvement, always had the ability to walk away, got a $30 million paycheck. She sued Diddy. She also sued the hotel, which got another $10, $20 million from the hotel. And you did all this, and now it's almost like the way it happened. She waited all the way up until the last day. She sued Diddy on the last day that she could sue him. So you remember, she left Diddy alone. She left Diddy for a while. She went and got married. All this. She could have always sued him. She sued him when the last day came for I guess whatever you call it, the last day you can before the statute ran out. And I guess people just look at it like, yo, you got all this bread, but you had a lot to do with a lot of this crime. And I just don't agree with everybody gets off except me per se. And I think that's where a lot of the country is split or whatever. It would have been good. You could at least get other people slap on the wrist, something. You know what I'm saying? Nigga just all right, good. You did X, Y, and Z for years, and it's just cool. And then, you know, I just, that part of the legal system is just always weird to me, how they pull that off. But that is what is going on, man. Just wanted your thoughts on how do you feel about the ability to use. Clearly the judge used a lot of what Diddy was acquitted on to punish him, and I just don't feel like that's right. And it just goes back to what I'm saying. You're never really an acquittal does not mean you're innocent. In other countries, they actually, what did the jury come up with? They actually say you're innocent. In America, you can only be acquitted. And when you read the law, acquittal does not mean you're innocent. It's written in the law. I was reading about it in a book. Because I'm thinking about my own case. I'm going to go to trial. And I was like, yo, they're never going to think I'm innocent ever again in life. Ever again. Whether your case is dropped, whether you're acquitted, whether your case is dismissed, whether your case is just dead deaded or whatever, dead. It's just they never will look at you the same. Anything you do after that, they can use your acquittal or dismissal still against you. And it's just like, how? How is that even possible? And a lot of these are draconian laws. A lot of these laws are written by white folks, man. A lot of these draconian ass laws they got are just written by people that just find other ways to still keep you in the system or keep using your stuff against you. And it's just unfair. It's just unfair. And a lot of the world is like that. It's anything. A lot of stuff that's not your fault can still be used against you. You be falsely accused, they still probably use it against you. You can be falsely accused or falsely charged, still can use shit against you. Someone can hit me. I could be driving, somebody can hit me. Somehow my insurance go up for another nigga hitting me. You see the way these laws are written? I'm not the reason for the accident, but my insurance go up because some nigga hit me. How am I a bad driver and another nigga hit me? These laws, dog, they're just written for you to continue to stay in this loophole, and it's just hard to get out. I'll let your boy.